Iowa Congressman Steve King. And Congressman, thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the program tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Cam. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. You've introduced H.R. 1093, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives Reform Act. I wondered, first of all, if you can just give us an overview of what your legislation does.
Well, yes, and first I have to say that this was put together primarily and very much with the guidance of the NRA, and I'm grateful for that. Because that's the collecting place for all the complaints that go on. You know that we have lots of people in this country that are lined up against the Second Amendment, and they think if you own a gun, you're evil. If you use it, you're even more evil. And they don't understand that they're there to protect us from tyranny. Mm-hmm. And so they have been stacking up licenses or different requirements and laws against us, trying to trim around the edges of the Second Amendment. And there's just an accumulation of regulations that are just onerous. And so what this bill does is it attempts to clean up a lot of that. And one is that, it ends the emergency regulations for border state dealers that have to report right now any sale of semi-auto that's 22 or larger and with a removable clip. That's just an onerous regulation that ends up in a tremendous amount of paperwork with no result that seems to me to be any good. It adds flexibility to penalties that might be brought against a federal firearms licensed dealer. And the penalties now set up so they don't have enough discretion. And then so what this does is it provides for graduated penalties for both major and minor violations. And that's really an important one, so there can be a warning instead of just jerking a license. And then it establishes standards if a dealer is willfully in violation, the standard is much tighter so that we know what a willful violation is. And that definition is in the bill. And then another thing, this is something that's always frustrated me dealing with government. When somebody from the government agency rules against you and brings a punishment, and you go back and appeal to the same people that ruled against you in the first place, this takes it to a neutral administrative law judge. And the list of these things goes on, but that's some of the things off the top that's in the bill.
So, it sounds like this is a reform bill with teeth, then.
Well, I think so. It does. It builds it confines the regulators, the BATFE, to these guidelines, and it's really going to be useful. I know that, many times dealers think that they were arbitrarily punished, and that's what brings some of this on. So this will reduce some of the arbitrariness, and when you get to appeal outside of the agency itself and go to a neutral administrative law judge, that is a big plus. And if someone is denied a license, then the reasons for that denial have to be reported to the person who's denied the license, and gives you an opportunity then to go back and make another application or rebut the allegations that are there in the denial.
Mm-hmm. I know this bill has been introduced in, or similar legislation has been introduced in previous sessions of Congress and has actually passed out of the House. I'm curious, Representative, with the scrutiny that we're starting to see ATF Operation Fast and Furious come under, do you think this provides more of an impetus to actually pass this reform measure and get this agency, starting to reform itself?
Well, the more the grievances accumulate, of course, the more urgency there is and the more incentive there is to bring this legislation on through. And so I think one thing that makes a difference is having the 87 new freshmen in the House of Representatives, and it's on our side. They're at 9 on the other side, but the ones on our side are anxious, I think, to prove their Second Amendment bona fide. So I think that gives us an extra push in the House right now.
Has the bill been scheduled for a hearing date at this point?
At this point, no, it has not been. We're in the process. I suppose I could say right now, I think we have this Congress now set up to operate, but it's taken a couple of months, and the stack up of things in front of us is pretty extensive. So I don't think the things are going to clear in the short term, but in the longer term, I would think this year we should be able to get a hearing and move it forward.
All right. Well, Congressman, again, I can't thank you enough, sir, for joining us this evening. Look forward to talking to you more about H.R. 1093, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives Reform Act, as it makes its way through the House.
And let's one day come back and do this when we can say it's signed into law. That's always the best goal.
Absolutely. Congressman, thanks again. Have a great night, sir.
Thanks, Cam. You too.